Their laughter still echoed like a blade in Monica's heart. Inside the luxury boutique, as she tried to serve them professionally, 3 wealthy clients looked her up and down and made it clear, for them, she would never be worthy of that position. "Someone like you? Here? How strange." The humiliation was public, the pain silent. But in that moment, Monica swore, "One day, I will turn this around." Have you ever felt the pain of being looked down upon just for being who you are? Have you ever imagined turning a moment of humiliation into your greatest victory? Stay with us until the end of this story and take the opportunity to follow the channel, because here you will experience twists and turns that prove we should never underestimate anyone. The city's most elegant street glowed with neon lights and illuminated storefronts. The boutique, the luxury life, it looked like a temple of fashion. Shiny glass doors, impeccable mannequins, and expensive clothes that promised status to those who could afford it. Behind the counter, with a practiced smile and attentive gaze, was Monica Johnson. Young, black, the daughter of a hard-working seamstress, she had learned from an early age that respect is earned through hard work and dignity. She was passionate about fashion, knowing every fabric, every cut, and every detail of the collections displayed in the salon. But Monica didn't just want to sell clothes. She wanted, in some way, to open doors, to show that style knew no color, social class, or boundaries. She was adjusting a blue silk dress on a mannequin when the boutique door opened. A delicate bell sound announced the arrival of 3 customers. They came in laughing loudly, the expensive perfume dominating the air. Victoria, blonde and haughty; Chloe, inseparable friend who was constantly using her cell phone covered in rhinestones; and Brandon, a wealthy heir with a bored air. "Good afternoon. Welcome to the luxury life," Monica said in her usual warm tone. Victoria didn't even look at her at first. She walked around the room as if inspecting a property. "Chloe, look at this," Victoria said, pointing to a leather bag on display. $1,800, almost free. "Puh, if my card lets me," Chloe replied, ironically before letting out a forced giggle. Brandon approached Monica, looking her up and down with disdain. "Interesting to see who they hire these days, isn't it?" he commented, his voice low but audible enough for Monica to hear. Monica took a deep breath. She kept her smile, even though her eyes said something different. "Can I help you find something special? We have some new Italian collections just arrived," he said, controlling his tone. Victoria finally turned to her, her gaze a mixture of surprise and sarcasm. "Oh, you must be the saleswoman?" she asked, as if the answer was obvious. "Yes, I'm Monica. I'm available to help you with any part." Victoria laughed disdainfully. "Funny, I thought boutiques like that hired people with more method of this here." The words cut through the air like invisible blades. Chloe laughed too, smoothing her hair. Brandon, feigning innocence, added, "But that's what I admire. Diversity, you know. They hire all kinds of people these days." Monica felt her face burn, but she didn't give in. With an erect posture, she replied, "True luxury is treating people with respect. But feel free to show me the best pieces that arrived this week." There was a brief silence. For a moment, it seemed Monica had turned the tables in that instant. But Victoria wasn't about to back down. "Show me then. I want to see if you really understand what you're talking about." Monica took a deep breath, grabbed a rack, and began presenting dresses. She explained the cut, the texture of the fabrics, the stories behind the designers. Every word was filled with knowledge and passion. Chloe raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Wow, you really know all this?" she asked, half curious and half disconcerted. "I live this. Fashion isn't just about clothes. It's about identity." She looked at them 3. "Whoever wears a piece like this carries a story with them, and it's no different with me. Every customer takes something that goes beyond the fabric. For a moment, Brandon seemed to swallow hard, but then he started laughing again. Very poetic, but in the end, it's just expensive clothes. Victoria shook her head as if closing the conversation. I think we'll wait for another saleswoman. Nothing against you, but you know how it is, right? Monica felt a heavy pain in her chest. That sentence, nothing against you, echoed like a punch. Still, she didn't let the tears fall. She firmly replied, Sure, feel free. I'm around if you need me. She took a step back, pretending to organize some pieces. Inside, however, she was seething. In the background, Victoria and Chloe giggled at something on their phones. Brandon joked about how many handbags could fit in his sports car. To them, Monica was just part of the furniture. But she silently made a decision, right then and there. The doorbell rang again as another customer entered, and the wealthy group walked away, unconcerned about the wound they had left. Monica maintained her fragile smile for the next appointment, a perfect mask to hide the pain burning in her chest. And in her mind, there was a promise. You can underestimate my skin, my hair, my voice, but you won't silence my courage. The boutique was nearly empty by the time Monica finished her shift. The silence of the room contrasted with the shrill laughter that still echoed in her memory. Victoria's heels clicking on the floor, Brandon's sharp jokes, Chloe's venomous condescension. It all burned. She turned off the cash register system, picked up her worn purse, and took a deep breath as she looked around. Monica walked to the back office. The manager, Mrs. Patterson, was organizing reports, his eyes glued to the computer screen. Mrs. Patterson? Monica said hesitantly. There was an unpleasant situation with some customers today. They made personal, offensive comments. The manager looked up for a moment. Her gaze was cold, pragmatic. Comments, Monica? Yes. Comments about who I am, about, you know. They were disrespectful. Mrs. Patterson sighed. Look, Monica, this kind of client is demanding. Sometimes they say things without thinking. But you know how it is. The client is always right. Monica felt her body shiver. The customer is right? Even when he disrespects my dignity? Don't take it personally, the manager said, returning to her computer screen. The most important thing is to maintain the store's image. Those words were like ice poured into his soul. Monica swallowed hard. I understand, he said with a lump in his throat. He left the office with heavy steps. On the sidewalk, the cold city night seemed to embrace his solitude. At home was another universe. Small, simple, but alive. The smell of home-cooked food drifted through the kitchen door. Mother, Gloria, was cutting vegetables in her worn apron, while her younger brother, Derek, was trying to fix the Wi-Fi to play the video game. Finally, Derek said, putting down his phone and hugging his sister. I was starting to think they forgot to send you home from work. Monica smiled, but without any shine. That almost happened today, you know? Gloria looked up, noticing the weight in her daughter's words. What happened, my girl? Monica left her bag on the sofa and sat down, exhausted. I feel more and more like I don't belong there. Today, a group of customers humiliated me. They laughed, mocked, treated me like I was invisible. I spoke to the manager, but she just told me not to take it personally. The silence in the kitchen was broken only by the sound of Gloria's knife pausing in its cutting. The mother took a deep breath and crossed her arms, staring at her daughter firmly. Never let anyone diminish you. Your value isn't in others' limited vision, Monica. It's in what you decide to do with that vision. Monica looked excited. Mom, sometimes I feel like my life is just swallowing humiliation after humiliation. I want more. I just don't know how to get it. Derek, fiddling with the video game controller, interrupted. Don't you always say you dream of launching your own clothes? So why don't you give it a try? Monica let out a bitter laugh. You say it like it's easy. I have no money, no connections, and the whole system seems too closed for someone like me. Gloria interrupted her firmly. You already have the most important thing, your talent and your courage. The rest life teaches you to conquer step by step. Those words fell like seeds into Monica's mind. The night was advancing, but within it a new fire was beginning to be born. For a moment, Monica saw herself as a child, sitting beside her mother, watching her sew simple dresses for neighbors. Fashion tells stories, her mother would say, and you have your own story to tell. Monica looked up resolutely. Maybe it's time to try. Maybe it's time to stop asking permission to exist. Gloria smiled proudly. That's how I want to hear my daughter speak. And Derek, with his irreverence, added, when you're famous, don't forget who helped with the free marketing, okay? Everyone laughed, breaking the weight of that night. But inside Monica, something powerful was blossoming. A beginning, a glimmer of purpose. They thought they belittled me today. In fact, they woke me up. Saturday was a lukewarm affair at the boutique, the luxury life. Monica was arranging accessories in a display case when a new customer walked in. Unlike the flashy brilliance of Victoria and her troupe, this man carried a calm presence. Wearing a light gray suit, discreet glasses, and a genuine smile, he seemed to observe more than simply consume. His eyes didn't just roam over products, they sought out people. Good morning, Monica greeted, in the same polite tone as always. Can I help you with anything in particular? The man smiled. Actually, I was more curious to observe. It's amazing how every luxury store tries to sell not just fashion, but an experience, don't you think? Monica was almost surprised. Almost no one usually spoke to a saleswoman in that tone, as an equal. Exactly, she said excitedly. It's not just a dress or a shoe. It's what it awakens in the wearer, the identity it carries. The man nodded, fascinated. Interesting to hear that. You know, few people in this business speak with such passion. He introduced himself. Michael Anderson. I've been working with art for many years. I have a gallery, but I also enjoy following new talents. Fashion, design, photography. For me, all of these are expressions. Monica smiled, but suspiciously. Well, I'm just a saleswoman, she said, shrugging. Michael watched her as if he could see beyond her. Don't belittle yourself. I saw how you handled those customers the other day. Their words were cruel, but your attitude was extraordinary. Monica's heart raced. Monica looked away awkwardly. I did what I had to do to keep my job. Michael shook his head. No, you did more than that. You showed strength. He smiled slightly, pulling a business card from his pocket. There's an event happening at my gallery this week, a gathering of fashion, designers, and independent artists. I want you to go. Monica's eyes widened. Me? In a gallery? Exactly you. Bring your gaze, your passion, and if you have something of your own, show it. She laughed nervously. But I'm not a designer. Michael interrupted her. Not yet, but I bet you already have something inside you. You just need the courage to show it. The words echoed straight into his soul. It was as if someone had opened a window in a suffocating room. Monica took the card, feeling it weigh in her hands as if it were a key. I'll think about it. Michael smiled. Thinking is the beginning, but remember, opportunities don't wait forever. He said a polite goodbye and left, leaving behind not only the smell of expensive perfume, but a spark of hope. That night at home, Monica showed the card to her mother and Derek. A gallery? Gloria said, astonished. Monica, that's a sign. What if it's a trap? She replied, uncertain. This world wasn't made for people like us. Gloria stared at her firmly, with that look that pierced doubt. The world will never be given to you on a silver platter, but every time a door closes, God opens a window. Perhaps that man is that window." Derek laughed excitedly. "I can already imagine. Johnson Collection, from the heart of the ghetto to the New York fashion shows." Monica threw a pillow at him, laughing along. But inside, seriousness grew. The invitation could be the first step towards changing her life. The week passed slowly, but something inside Monica stirred like a hurricane. Michael's card rested on her bedroom dresser, catching her eye every morning and night. What if it's just a waste of time? What if I get rejected? But what if it's my chance? On Saturday night, she took a deep breath and decided she would go to the event. The gallery was located in the city's cultural heart. It felt like a sanctuary of creativity. Colorful paintings, extravagant sculptures, mannequins dressed in bold outfits by up-and-coming designers. Monica entered shyly, feeling out of place among the well-dressed young people who talked loudly and laughed with glasses of wine in their hands. But then there was Michael, greeting the guests. He waved when he saw her. "I knew you would come, Monica. Welcome to your future." She laughed nervously. "Let's just say it's still just a visit." Michael introduced her to a few people, independent designers and artists who, like her, started small. Monica didn't say much, but she observed everything. Different fabrics, bold combinations, the courage each creator brought to their pieces. And that's where the idea germinated. That night, at home, Monica opened an old notebook filled with notes from her adolescence. Among the scribbles and crooked drawings, she rediscovered dresses she had imagined years ago. Pieces that blend strength and delicacy. Colors of African heritage with sophisticated cuts. She stared at the ancient features and smiled. That's always been in me. Over the next few days, Monica began to transform pain into creation. After work at the boutique, instead of resting, she spent hours sketching, researching fabrics, and cutting out ideas. His mother, Gloria, would pick up the antique sewing machine. The sound of the needle filled the simple house, transforming the living room into a small, makeshift studio. "This stitch here needs to be strong, otherwise it will open easily," Gloria explained patiently. "Mom, look at this mix of colors. Gold, burnt orange, and deep blue. I want them to scream ancestry and power," Monica said as she adjusted fabrics on the makeshift mannequin. Derek photographed everything to discreetly post on social media. If the world doesn't know you yet, it will now. #Johnson Originals is already born. She laughed, but she also felt the pressure. Challenges soon arose. There wasn't enough money to buy better fabrics. Some stores refused to sell on credit. When she shared her plans with acquaintances, she heard phrases like, "Fashion is for those with famous surnames, Monica. Are you going to compete with someone who was born into luxury?" Each comment was an invisible cut, but instead of killing his dream, it fueled his determination. "If they doubt it, all the better," Monica said to herself. "They'll have to swallow my victory." In the silence of the early morning, between threads and needles, she thought, each stitch is a scar that turns into art. Each color is a reminder of what they tried to erase from me. Each piece will carry my voice. One evening, as they adjusted a daring, high-waisted skirt, Gloria looked at her daughter with emotion. "Monica, I've been sewing dresses my whole life, but I've never seen anyone sew a dream like you are doing." Monica's eyes sparkled. "And I wouldn't do it without you, Mom. Everything I know started here, in this machine." Gloria squeezed her hand firmly. "Promise me one thing. Never silence your light again." Monica smiled. "I promise." Over the course of weeks, the first pieces were completed. They were few, but they each carried a distinctive identity. Structured dresses with vibrant prints, flowing fabrics mixed with bold cuts. It was as if they told a story in every detail. And unbeknownst to Monica, Derek had already made several posts. A local stylist discovered and shared them, increasing the curiosity. Michael came back to visit her. Upon seeing the first models, he remained silent for several seconds until he said, "Monica, this is original. This is powerful. You need to show the world." She swallowed hard. "Do you really think so?" "I don't think so. I'm sure. You're not just creating clothes, you're creating a message." Weeks of effort had transformed the Johnson family's small living room into a bustling studio. Fabrics hung from chairs, colorful threads strewn across the floor, scraps of cloth that were no longer just cloth, they were fragments of a future. Monica spent sleepless nights. Her hands ached from adjusting seams, but no one could take the sparkle from her eyes. Each finished piece was a victory against prejudice, against the voices that said, "This is not for you." One Saturday morning, Michael knocked on the door with a small smile, but his eyes full of expectation. "Ready to change your life?" he asked, holding up a white envelope. Monica took it hesitantly. Inside was an official invitation. Emerging Designer Showcase, New York City. Her heart raced. "Is this a parade of new talent?" Michael nodded. "This is the chance you've been waiting for. I want you to bring your pieces. I want the world to know Monica Johnson is coming." Monica swallowed, her eyes welling up. "But am I ready yet?" Michael placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "No one is ever ready. You only discover your strength when you decide to take the first step toward fear." Those words struck a chord. The following weeks were a real test. Monica, Gloria, and Derek worked tirelessly. Gloria sewed with the precision of a surgeon, pouring love into each stitch. "It's not just fabric, my daughter. It's blood and sweat. Whoever wears these pieces will carry our history." Derek took care of social media and already had a small website. "Look, Monica, we already have 100 followers just from the photos I posted. It's starting to happen." Monica, however, was experiencing inner turmoil. Sometimes she felt invincible, sometimes she was overcome by insecurity. Michael would visit her from time to time, bringing advice and contacts. Every detail counts. Present not just clothes, present a vision. People don't just buy fabrics, they buy emotions. And that's exactly what Monica decided to deliver: emotion. The night of the show arrived. The venue was packed. Spotlights danced around the room. Journalists, photographers, and influencers milled about excitedly. The air vibrated with anticipation. Backstage, Monica trembled. Dresses hung on makeshift racks. Models were getting makeup done. Seamstresses assisted with last-minute adjustments. "Breathe, Monica," Gloria said, holding her hands. "Today isn't about them. It's about you remembering who you've always been." Derek joked, "Relax, sis. If you get nervous, pretend they're naked." Monica laughed with tears in her eyes. When the presenter announced his name, Johnson Collection by Monica Johnson, a chill ran through his veins. The music started. The first model walked the runway. Silence. Then murmurs of admiration. The fabrics vibrated under the lights, long dresses in bold colors, structured pieces with African inspiration, modern details that blended sophistication with identity. Each outfit made a statement. Monica's eyes followed each model. It seemed like a dream. What had begun in her living room was now parading before dozens of important guests. With each step the models took, Monica felt, "They are listening to me." But then, something caught her attention. Among the guests, Monica recognized familiar laughter. Victoria, Chloe, Brandon. They were there, sitting in the front row with glasses of champagne in their hands, as if they owned the place. Her blood ran cold. Victoria whispered something in Chloe's ear, chuckling softly. Brandon was fiddling with his phone, bored. At first, they didn't seem to realize whose collection it was until Chloe commented, "This collection is quite exotic, don't you think? It looks like fantasy." Victoria chuckled softly. "I know. It must be that saleswoman at the boutique trying to play fashion designer." The words pierced her heart like sharp arrows. For a second, she faltered. She wanted to run, to disappear. But then she remembered her mother's words. Today isn't about them. It's about remembering who you've always been. She straightened her posture, held her breath, and stared at the catwalk. And that's exactly what happened. As the looks continued to parade, the audience could not remain silent. At the end of the show, when the last model walked onto the stage in the most daring dress, a long gold gown with black fringe, the audience erupted in applause. Standing, words of admiration echoed. Original, innovative, finally something different and authentic. Monica couldn't believe it. Tears streamed down her cheeks as the host called her onto the stage. Her heart was pounding like a drum. She walked onto the catwalk, feeling transparent and gigantic at the same time, and, in front of the audience, she heard something she would never forget. "Bravo!" shouted a renowned designer, standing up to applaud. "Finally, someone with the courage to innovate." The applause doubled in intensity. Monica looked up. In the corner, she saw Victoria and the group, now silent and disconcerted. Chloe opened her mouth as if searching for an excuse. Brandon, who at first looked bored, couldn't take his eyes off the collection. "Now you see. Now you can't deny. I'm not invisible. I'm unbreakable." She smiled excitedly as the hall echoed with applause. After the show, Monica was surrounded by journalists, models, and business people. Questions came from all sides. What's the inspiration? Are you going to launch a commercial line? Where did this unique vision come from? She took a deep breath and, still nervous but firm, replied, "My inspiration is life. It's the strength to resist when society tries to silence your voice. Every piece I create is born of pain, but also of hope, because fashion isn't just fabric. Fashion is courage." Cameras flashed. People wrote down every word. That night, Monica returned home exhausted, but with a sweet exhaustion, like crossing the finish line of a marathon. Gloria and Derek were waiting for her with a group hug. "You made history today," Gloria whispered, crying. "You were amazing, sis. I told you #Johnson Originals was gonna be a hit." Monica laughed along with them, holding back tears, and thought, "Today the doors opened, and the whole world will have to see me." The echo of the applause still resonated in Monica's mind days after the show. Photos of her circulated on social media. Fashion websites published articles calling her collection bold, innovative, and distinctive. For the first time, Monica wasn't just a saleswoman behind the counter. She was a creator, a designer. But the sudden success also attracted attention. Admirers, curious onlookers, and, inevitably, opportunists. On a sunny afternoon, Monica received a connection that made her shiver. It was Victoria. "Monica, honey!" The honeyed voice echoed through the phone, as if it had always been her friend. "We need to meet up and talk. I have an incredible proposal for you." Monica was silent for a few seconds. The memory of the boutique came to her in a flash. Victoria laughing, underestimating her, treating her as invisible. Now she was saying, "Darling?" "And why should I listen to your proposal, Victoria?" Monica asked calmly but firmly. "Because, well, you're on the rise now, and I know you need investors, and I know all the right contacts to take your collection to the next level. Imagine, Johnson Originals by Victoria. Doesn't it sound wonderful?" Monica almost laughed ironically. "I'll think about it," he simply replied, and hung up. Deep down, she already knew what decision to make, but this time She wanted to see how far Victoria would go. 2 days later, they arranged to meet for a fancy coffee in Manhattan. Victoria arrived first, with her stiletto heels and calculated smile. Chloe and Brandon naturally accompanied her. Seeing her enter, Monica walked upright to the table, wearing one of her own looks from her collection. Her presence filled the entire room. Victoria opened her arms as if welcoming an old friend. "Monica, look at you! You're radiant!" "Thank you," Monica said, sitting down. "Then speak up." Victoria crossed her fingers theatrically on the table. "Listen, you have talent, that's undeniable. But talent is nothing without structure, you know? You need someone like me, with experience, influence, contacts. I can open doors in international boutiques. I can take your brand to Paris, Milan." Brandon smiled from the corner of his mouth. "And, of course, in return, you would be honored to join us." He emphasized the we as if to lend some legitimacy. Chloe nodded in agreement. "It's a great deal, Monica. You need it. You know, it's not easy to break into this market without the right hand guiding you." Monica leaned back in her chair, taking a deep breath. For a few seconds, she pretended to consider. Then she slowly rested her hands on the table and said, "Before I answer, I want to remind you of something. A few months ago, you laughed at me. You made jokes about who I was, about the fact that I was just a saleswoman. Remember?" Silence fell heavily. Victoria gave a wry smile. "Honey, don't take that seriously. It was just a joke. You know how it is. We say things without thinking." Monica kept her gaze fixed, steady. "I took it seriously, Victoria, because every time someone puts me down, it's not just an insult. It's an attempt to erase my identity. But what you don't understand is that the more they try to erase me, the more I shine." Chloe looked away uncomfortably. Brandon pretended to be distracted by his phone. "So, Monica," Victoria insisted, trying to regain control, "do you accept our proposal or not?" Monica took a deep breath, lifted her chin, and replied, "No." The shock was visible. "Excuse me? Repeat that?" Victoria stammered. "I said no. My brand carries my story, my struggle, my heritage. I won't hand it over to people who don't know how to respect me or who I am. The respect you're trying to buy now was already cheap. All you had to do was treat me like a human being that day in the boutique. But you failed." The silence at the table grew even more uncomfortable. Victoria felt the weight of the words. "Monica, you're making a mistake," she said dryly. Monica stood up, elegant, smiling serenely. "The only mistake I made was for a moment believing I needed approval from people like you. But I've learned I am the one who defines my value." And with that, she grabbed her bag and walked away, leaving them paralyzed. That same week, Monica received a legitimate contract. A renowned fashion distributor wanted to license her collection. It wasn't just an opportunity, it was official confirmation that the market recognized her. At the press conference, reporters asked about her plans. Monica spoke firmly. "I want my brand to not just be fashion, but also a message. I want every young person who has been silenced, every woman who has been underestimated, to see in me proof that we don't need to wait for acceptance. We need to believe in ourselves first." And she concluded with a phrase that echoed among flashes and cameras. "I don't just wear clothes. I wear courage." Weeks later, Monica passed by the same boutique, The Luxury Life. Inside, prominently displayed in the window, were dresses from her collection. Customers took photos, asked prices, and saleswomen proudly explained, "This is the Johnson collection, the sensation of the season." Monica, outside, smiled. She didn't enter. She didn't need to. The respect she had sought in the past was now reflected in every customer who admired her pieces. One night, Monica was talking with Gloria and Derek in the living room, now transformed into an official studio. The three of them laughed, reminiscing about their journey up to that point. "They tried to knock me down, but it was on the ground that I found the trampoline," Monica said, her eyes shining. Gloria stroked her face proudly. "You didn't just become a fashion designer, my daughter. You became an inspiration." Derek finished laughing, "And I became the cheapest marketing director in the world." Monica laughed, and, looking out the window at the horizon, she thought,
"Before, I cried in silence through closed doors. Now, I build my own doors, and I leave them open for those who come after me." The world seemed to finally see Monica Johnson. Her collection, once quietly stitched together in the cramped living room of her home, now shined in the windows of luxury stores. On every corner, someone could be found wearing her pieces. They were clothes, yes, but also statements. The vibrant colors told stories of resistance, ancestry, and courage. Monica woke up every day still wondering if this was real. Sometimes she remembered the girl, standing behind the boutique counter, holding back tears to avoid showing her weakness. Now, the same city that had reduced her to nothing was lining up to hear her speak. Her calendar was packed with invitations to lectures, interviews, and collaborations with famous brands. But beyond the glamour, Monica knew the real value of it all lay in the impact it had on people. The looks of emotional Black girls who approached her at events, holding her sketches, saying, "You inspire me to never give up." The hugs from women who, upon trying on a dress from her collection, cried because they felt that finally something on the market spoke to their identity. One day, Monica walked into a public school, invited to speak. The auditorium was packed. Children and teenagers hung on every word, their eyes shining. She held the microphone and let her heart speak. "For a long time, I thought I needed to ask for permission to exist, permission to dream, to create, to occupy spaces. But I've learned one thing. No one can give you what was born yours. Life may try to silence you, but your voice is unique, and it is what transforms pain into strength." The children applauded. A little girl raised her hand and asked, "How did you have courage even when they made fun of you?" Monica lowered herself to the girl's level, looking straight into her eyes. "Because I understood that it wasn't about what they said about me. It was about what I believed about myself. The most powerful voice you'll ever hear in life is your own." The words echoed, charged with truth. This had become his mission, to show others that it was possible to turn things around even when everyone said otherwise. The invitations grew. Monica would now travel to represent her brand at international trade shows, Paris, London, Milan. On the runway, her pieces were sought after, but what impressed most was her attitude. It wasn't just exotic clothing or bold trends. It was a message of identity and belonging. When Monica walked on stage and acknowledged the applause, she wasn't just representing herself. She carried within her all the women who, like her, were once invisible. One day, while walking down Fifth Avenue, Monica saw a huge billboard featuring one of her campaigns. The gold dress with black fringe, sported by a dark-skinned model, took up the entire facade of a building. People stopped to take photos. Customers commented excitedly. Monica stopped before the giant image and sighed deeply. "I did it," she said in a low voice. Gloria, nearby, held her daughter's hand. Her teary eyes reflected pride. "More than achieved, Monica. You turned your pain into wings." Derek, always irreverent, added, "And now we have to think of a good slogan, like Johnson Originals. Here you don't just buy a dress, you buy power." Monica laughed through her tears. She was surrounded by the love of her family, who always believed in her when the world didn't. Weeks later, the boutique, the luxury life, the place where it all began, organized a window display in honor of the brand's new campaign. Outside, Monica watched customers admire the dresses with anticipation, employees explaining prices and features. Every detail seemed ironically poetic. Where before she had swallowed insults in silence, now she saw her name emblazoned on official posters, displayed with pride. She didn't come in. She didn't need to. She just had to watch. Her mind drifted back to the past. She remembered Victoria, Chloe, and Brandon laughing, belittling her existence, treating her as if she were a mistake in the luxury scene. Now, whose mistake was it? Maybe they'd never apologize. Maybe they'd never change. But that didn't matter. Monica's victory wasn't in them recognizing her worth, but in the fact that she herself would never question it again. That same night, Monica was invited to a special national television interview. At the end, the host asked, "Monica, how would you define your journey so far?" She smiled calmly, the same calm that previously hid tears, now serving to convey strength. She took a deep breath and replied, "My journey is proof that prejudice can hurt, but it can't determine who you will be. Humiliation can cut you, but it can also sharpen you. I turned pain into art, insults into fuel, and limits into stepping stones." The host looked at her impressed. "And for the young women watching us now, what is your message?" Monica lifted her chin and spoke firmly. "Never let someone's laughter define the size of your dream. One day, whoever laughed at you will have to respect the light they tried to extinguish." The studio gave a standing ovation. When she returned home that night, Monica stood alone for a moment staring at the mirror. She no longer saw just the boutique salesman. She saw the designer, the creator, the woman who faced invisible scars and transformed them into art. She touched her own reflection and murmured, "You won." But she soon corrected herself. No, we won. Because she knew that her victory was also that of the mother who sewed until late at night, of the brother who believed in every post, of the girls who now dream bigger, of the invisible women who gained a voice through her. And as Monica closed her eyes to sleep, she was certain that no matter how many times society tried to test her, hurt her, or diminish her, she would find a new reason to grow. Because in the end, she had learned life's most precious lesson. True luxury is walking with your head up high, with courage. True power is transforming pain into legacy. And so, Monica Johnson became not just a fashion name, but a symbol of victory, dignity, and transformation. Forever.
Time had passed. The name Monica Johnson was no longer just a momentary highlight, it was a consolidated brand, synonymous with strength, identity, and class. Its pieces appeared on the most prestigious red carpets, dressing famous actresses, leaders, and ordinary women who found in that fashion something that made them feel visible and powerful. But Monica never forgot where she came from or who she was. She continued living in the same neighborhood, visiting community schools, funding scholarships for underprivileged young designers. She didn't just want to pave a path for herself, she wanted to pave an entire road for those who came after. On a golden autumn afternoon, Monica walked slowly through the halls of her newly opened foundation. Young people worked on sketches, experimented with fabrics, learned about design, and most importantly, about believing in themselves. Each face there reminded Monica of her own journey, the fear, the laughter against her, and the determination not to give up. She stopped in front of a girl of about 13 sitting at a lonely table, her eyes sad. The girl scribbled with little confidence, erasing more than she drew. Monica approached, smiling. "Beautiful lines. Do you draw from the heart?" he asked.
The girl hesitated. I try, but no one believes me. They say this isn't for poor people, that it's just a dream. Monica remembered herself years ago. The pain was instantaneous, like an echo from the past. She sat down next to the girl, gently held the notebook, and said firmly, "Listen carefully. Never let someone's laughter drown out your voice. What you have inside, no one else can give or steal. I heard the same things when I was your age. But one day, I decided they weren't going to write my story. I would write it myself." The girl's eyes sparkled. "What if I fail?" Monica smiled tenderly. "Failure is just a rehearsal for victory. If you keep going, sooner or later, no one will be able to ignore your brilliance." The girl took a deep breath, as if receiving new life. She returned her gaze to her notebook, more confident, and Monica continued on, observing the other young people. As he walked, he thought, "When I fell, I wished I had someone to lift me up. Today, I am that person for them. That is my true legacy." As she left the room, the light evening wind blew on her face. The golden rays of the sun spread across the city. Monica paused for a few seconds on the building's balcony, gazing at the horizon. She reflected on her journey, from the boutique where she endured insults to the catwalk where she was applauded, from the cramped living room of her home to the creative hub where dozens of young people now dream bigger. Downstairs, cameras were already waiting for her, reporters, fans, onlookers. Seeing her appear, everyone cheered, shouts echoing her name. Monica raised her hand in greeting, but inside she was more serene than ever. She no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. Whoever needed to prove themselves had already proven themselves. She took a deep breath and thought, "The world tried to silence me, but now my voice will never be silenced because it already echoes in everyone who learned from me not to give up." The camera pulled back, revealing Monica standing majestically against the city's sunset. Her silhouette became a symbol, not just of fashion, but of dignity, courage, and transformation. And the message echoed, not as a whisper, but as a cry from the soul. The biggest turning point in life happens when you understand that you weren't born to fit into small showcases, but to light up giant stages. If this story moved you, if you believe that everyone can turn things around despite adversity, don't forget to follow the channel to follow more stories of overcoming, courage, and transformation. Because every victory always starts with a choice. Believe in yourself.